What is going on, comic fans? Welcome to At Week's End. This is the spoiler-filled look back at this week in comics and so much more. It's going to be a fantastic show. This has been an insane week for fandom. There's so much to get into. Can't wait to do it. And we're going to do it right after a message from Comicx Curing Cancer.
Before we continue on, make sure you bookmark your calendar for Comicx Curing Cancer happening the weekend of October 20th through the 22nd. Comicx Curing Cancer is an American Cancer Society virtual event that happens on YouTube and focuses on raising money for cancer awareness. Also, don't forget to pre-order your copy of Unnatural Order #1, the Comicx Curing Cancer exclusive variant at djlinks.bigcartel.com. This exclusive is limited to only 250 copies. Big shout out to the Comic Mint for donating the books, and big shout out to Matt Wilson for donating the cover art.
Also, a huge thank you to all the Legionnaires that voted for the channel to get it to be a finalist in 5 categories. Be sure to go to cbcawards.org and place your votes over there. You don't have to vote for me, just vote for somebody and support the CBC Awards. I highly suggest voting for Sector 2815 in his respected category. I highly suggest it. There's probably no better person in that category I can think of. TM, can you think of anybody?
I can't think of anybody.
There you go.
He's back.
Yeah.
No, and also a huge shout out to TM Nerdy and Geek Out with Roscoe from Between the Lines, who are also nominated in that category. Fantastic show, fantastic people. It's going to be hard to pick, so just flip a coin. I mean, let's just get real. Like, it ain't that serious. Have fun with it.
That's right.
Enjoy it.
TM. Flip a coin. Heads I win, tails you lose.
Exactly. And, I do want to give a huge shout out to the homies over at Big Time Collectibles. Be sure to check them out at bigtimecollectibles.com. Follow them on social media. They have all kinds of awesome exclusives. All their New York Comic Con exclusives are dropping here, including their Kale new Ahsoka Tano New York City Comic Con exclusive. Andy, have you seen that one?
I haven't. You said that and my neck snapped looking at the thumbnail, hoping to see a clip of that. I'm like, where? What?
No, you're going to have to check out bigtimecollectible.com or follow them on Instagram to take a good look at it. And lastly, if you need anything cleaned or pressed, be sure to check out Justin's Comics on Instagram. Let him know that you found him via the channel. He'll take care of you, but not quite as good as this guy right here will take care of you. And that's aggressive relaxing.
Hey, everyone.
He's going to take care of you aggressively.
You're going to catch me playing with my dolls.
I want to give a quick, fast run through the chat. Say hello. There's a lot of good stuff to talk about tonight. We got Las Cruces 1971 clocking in early with the hooray, woohoo, hello from New Mexico. I really feel like he rubs it in people's faces. He gets in early to get the first comment, and he checks back in on it and just starts rubbing people's faces in it. We got Scott in the chat. Hey, Mark, I'm not going to be able to make the hangout tonight to start. I did see his clip where he went to the beach at like 4:15 this morning to fight the cold, and it was actually a pretty funny clip he put on Instagram. So go check that out, talking about trying to figure out what the cold, small, sandy substance is that's white in the northern states. Down here, we tend to forget what snow is.
How dare you say that?
Yeah. Grab the shipping gurus in the building. What is going on? # We Are Legion. Beckerman, what is up? Hope you're doing good. Ryan Riley is in the building. Hello, hello. Phil's Treehouse, how are you doing tonight? Freaky Louie is here. No, Louie. We could try to be more Legion. It just wouldn't work because that's how Legion we already are. Evil Mike is in the building. DJ Links, what is happening? Chop and drop. Hello, hello. And scrolling down. Esteban, what is going on, brother? Hope you had a chance to finish Ahsoka. We're going to be diving deep in Ahsoka's finale. Take that however you wish. We got Wheelchair Superhero 87. Has been a member for 8 months. Big shout out to Kyle. The 8-month member badge there. It's cool. At least we have each other, Mike.
I seen his message earlier. He's like, I see everybody else got invited.
What is going on, Collecting Reserves? I thought I sent Becker the link. I'm going to have to go look. I'd already told him that he was invited back on for the finale and all that. KBDM, what is going on? Hello, hello. Chop and Drop is in the building. Let's see. Pop's Attic, what is happening? Let's see, I'm making sure I don't miss anybody. I might have. I'm trying to get through this fast because there's a lot to talk about tonight. The Adventurous Joe, what is happening? Hello, hello. Yeah, I was sending links out earlier today from the theater, seeing the new Paw Patrol movie with the kids, so I felt awkward having like I was like trying to hide my phone light and stuff. But
that should be like an unspoken rule at every children's movie. Is adults should be allowed to have their phones out.
Yeah, like I mean, the other kids were literally running in the aisles, like they're. And I feel like bad having my phone out. I was talking with you about it in Friday's stream. Okay, yeah. I don't pay any attention to what you say, Esteban. You know that. And then I didn't get the link. Took a nap for nothing. Now it's coming, Becker. I'm about to send it to you, man. I thought I did. All right, so there's a lot to get into tonight. Where to even begin? We're definitely starting with Ahsoka.
I know where to begin. That BTC Collectibles Ahsoka exclusive says sold out on the raw copies already, brother. So I'm doing the work.
So you're gonna have to tap into somebody who's going to the con. They always do a limited allocated amount that they put up on their website beforehand. You know, for those that can't make it. You should have those notifications turned on for BTC. You don't want to miss out when they're dropping stuff.
I put all my eggs in
super fast.
I put all my eggs into the Mike Mayhew basket because that Ahsoka cover is like cover of the year for me, and I bought a whole grip of those.
There you go. Yeah, there's been a lot of decent ones here recently. Been a lot of decent ones.
Where do you start? You start at the beginning of the episode.
What happened at the beginning?
That's what I was waiting for you to say.
All right, so at the beginning of the episode, dude, I'll be honest with you. I hit a point where I'm like sitting there, like tapping my fingers. I'm like, are we really burning minutes for this? They had what I felt like was a long, drawn out period with the Night Sisters just giving Morgan face tats for no good reason, just to pull out the sword, which was a memberberry weapon from the Clone Wars show. And I'm like, yo, like there's so much ground to cover with this finale. There's so many plot points, and we already know it's going to end on a cliffhanger, but there's still so much we need to do. So that opening actually kind of frustrated me. While it served a purpose, kinda, and like I can touch on that later when we get to it, but
I felt the exact same way. It's like, why are we burning minutes here when there's so much ground to cover? And I get it. I'm with you there, but I agree wholeheartedly. I felt like we were kind of like the old adage of burning money, like burning minutes here.
Yeah, and it really just felt like the whole thing just was purely just to try to amp up Morgan just for her final fight, to make her appear more formidable for those few moments that she was in the fight before she, spoiler alert, dies. But in the end, it was all pointless. And within 40 minutes, it became pointless. But where's aggressive?
It definitely did not feel like a season finale. It felt like there would be like another episode to like go with this episode, because it definitely did not feel like a finale. And I know that they're banking on it to be like, okay, if this does well, we are going to push a season 2. That's their plans, and so that's what a lot of this episode was like. All right, we'll push a season 2 in that, and we'll show you guys where Ahsoka and Sabine are left off.
I don't think they're pushing a season 2, are they? This was leading into the movie.
I mean, to me, while the season overall was still, I enjoyed it immensely. I think you, Mark, you and I talked. I was just whelmed. I wasn't underwhelmed. I wasn't overwhelmed. I was just whelmed. You know, I was a little bit disappointed in that. You know, at the end, they basically all they did was they just switched places on everybody.
Yeah.
You know, I was really hoping that we would at least have gotten one scene before the end of, whether it's the season or the movie or whatever, one scene with Thrawn and Ahsoka in together.
Even he
because they teased that way back in The Mandalorian when she fought Morgan the first time, said, "Where's your master?" You know, they teased Thrawn that she was looking for Thrawn, and again, they didn't need to resolve it, but I thought that they would at least have had one scene where the two of them shared it. So,
the one thing this episode did that I did like, because we brought it up last week, kind of touched on it, had slightly different perspectives on it. Confirmed, Thrawn don't want to mess with nobody associated with Anakin. Right. Confirmed. Mm-hmm. Confirmed. He's treading lightly once he found out that that's Anakin's apprentice. Like Anakin.
Well, he doesn't want to have anything to do with Jedi. That's why he has the whatever they're called, the witches on his side, and that, because like that's the one thing that he can't grasp is like the power of Jedis. So he's a tactician in that he can figure out everybody's moves, but Jedis are always like in his like rear view mirror. Now he can't see them.
And we are hopping a little here. I do want to take it down to aggressive, relaxing. He's playing with his dolls on this intro and his immediate thoughts kind of kicking off from there as well.
Yeah, when Andy said that they just switched places, I couldn't help but hear the famous quote from Lucas in my head, which is, "It rhymes. It's like poetry." But I was lucky enough to, in my Star Wars rewatch, have just watched the episode where that sword shows up at originally.
Just a fight with Mace Windu, right?
It's sort of Talzin. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Yeah, and I guess is it known as that now because the person that was fighting with it originally was Talzin.
She said she says that in the
Mhm.
show, I believe. She
Yeah,
says
she said
receive
it,
the
and I
sword of
googled
Talzin
it
or
in
whatever.
real
So.
time. Yeah,
But isn't that like interesting? Like, because the last time someone wielded that sword that we know of magically just so happened to be named Talzin. These witches live we know not how long. So, like it's just a funny idea to me, the concept of magical heirlooms. But it's been passed on to Elspeth, who's been given the sword. And what I think Filoni is really trying to do is that the Night Sisters have always really been his baby in the Star Wars universe. And traditionally, how it goes is that you have the Rebels versus the Empire, the New Republic versus the First Order. There is very clear good and bad guys because the leader of the traditional bad guys in Star Wars is so uniquely evil. He's, evil for, the fun of it. It's a calling to him, the Emperor. Whereas everyone else is kind of shades of gray. Um, and I think they're trying really hard to give us a third party in this war for the world. You have the Sith, you have the Jedi, and then there's also the Night Sisters who have their own interest that we don't exactly understand. So that's interesting to me, and I can see why they're trying to build up the Night Sisters lore, make them feel really important. They've done some, setting of the table in these other episodes of past TV cartoons, that they're trying to beef up their role for a future storytelling is what it feels like to me.
Yeah, agreed.
But yeah, I shared the feeling of like, like how long is the ceremony? How many minutes are left in this show?
I mean, is Morgan even really gone? I mean, what's
Yeah,
the
right.
gift? The gift of shadows isn't really defined in Wikipedia or anything else that I could find. So, did the Night Sisters telling her to leave her old life behind essentially make her the next Mother Talzin? I don't
Yeah,
know.
she only got a little scrape on her stomach, so
There's not a.
it's not like she got like through her body. We've seen people come back from that, so
Yeah, and the sword's just conjured out of. They just conjure the sword again. So, is she going to be coming back at some point? I mean, that's kind of dope. That the gift of shadows could do a lot more than we think.
I wouldn't mind seeing her again because, like Esteban mentioned, when it came to the action in this episode, she delivered the best action. Morgan definitely was the best choreographed, kind of most fast paced. The rest, that's really another point of contention for this episode for me was the lightsaber battle sucked. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it for me. No way around it. The lightsaber battle sucked.
All right. I want to interject here just long enough and without going too far off the rails or taking too much time, but I stumbled on a video and I cannot for the life of me find it again to share with the rest of you guys, but I don't know if there's any truth to this and want to know if you guys heard that this is essentially a prop issue. My understanding is that the move 1, 2, and 3, they're using the hilts with metal rods that came out of them, very light, very easy maneuver. They I don't know if they painted them green or whatever, but then they CGI'd in the lightsaber effect after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like because of the feedback over all of the years on how fans didn't like that, my understanding is that for Ahsoka and in the Disney Plus shows, they're using actual light emitting sabers that have a full hilt, then they have the full light emitting part, and then they CGI in whatever they need to, but it's not 100% CGI'd. Therefore, they're swinging around something that's got a lot more heft to it, that's heavier, that balances differently, that moves a lot differently. So I don't know if there's any truth to this, but I kind of wondered if you guys had heard anything about that, and if that might lead
I
to
haven't, but I saw this movie called Spider-Man made by the same company pretty much. So like I'm not hearing none of that. Like flip me some Jedis, give me some good choreography. Not hearing no. I think
wonder.
if that was the case after the massive negative response from the actual films, we wouldn't be this far past like episode 7 or 8. People are like, yo, these lightsaber battles suck. Where they at? And like I think this is them trying. I think it's a choreographer issue or something. Like I mean, I'm not saying like them changing the props doesn't change anything, but they could amp it up if they wanted to. Like the bar for lightsaber battles is up here. It was set by Star Wars, like for like dueling in movies. Like that's like the peak, not just for lightsabers. You know what I mean? Like that Mustafar fight, like it's just.
So if you look back on this first season of Ahsoka, did that hamper Anakin's ability to maneuver with a lightsaber, or do you think that was on par with what we saw in years past? Maybe he had the training in the past. All these other characters didn't.
I think Anakin in this was moving like Vader every time he was moving a lightsaber, which if you like, that's why kind of the Obi-Wan series, I was a little more forgiving with the lightsaber stuff and that because there's a difference between Anakin using a lightsaber and Vader the robot body using them. That's how I justified in my head because we saw Vader first in the original trilogy and there was a choreography thing, it was a prop thing and all that stuff, and they really took it to a 10. We haven't been at a 10 since the prequels.
Yeah,
And
I think
like,
Vader to me was very much a beat down person with the lightsabers, right? He had to beat down his opponent, as opposed to Anakin was much more choreographed and much more
smooth, fluid.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Maul, like, come on, man, like come on, man, Darth Maul. Like,
and they could have had a perfect scene with all of them in a line. You had Ahsoka in the middle, you had Sabine, you had Ezra, and that could have been an awesome scene. That scene really wasn't that good. It was just them standing there with the lightsabers, Ahsoka's kind of whipping hers a little bit and stuff. It could have been a really cool scene if choreographed perfectly, but I don't think
now
it was
they had
there.
Morgan, and to my defense, they had Morgan sliding on the ground and spinning and doing all kinds of cool. That's like what we expect to see. Now I do like the lightsaber fight with Balin again because his style that he was using was more of that beat him down style. Like he's not having to move. He's dual hand wielding like a what kind of sword did you say it was, Andy? A claymore?
Yeah, something of a claymore like statue.
Yeah,
like classic knight.
Yeah, like I think that worked good, but like especially having been watching Rebels and stuff since this, I'm like, yo, like we're not even on par with like this show.
Well, like, Rebels had some incredible fights.
It does. Yeah. It really does.
Ever since, the early seasons of Clone Wars, there was some really interesting use of the Force and fighting ideas. And have we ever talked about the actress Elspeth's kind of like martial arts background before?
No. I don't think so. I'm not aware of any.
Yeah, that's Bruce Lee's goddaughter.
In real life?
Yeah.
Yeah. Like she's been training all her life in, the style that began what is basically known as mixed martial arts now. And she's put a bunch of different things on display. And yeah, she is spectacular. And they've said that before about making action movies that, you bring in Donnie Yen to do something and you think it will make your movie look cool, but all it does is make everyone else look bad.
But it doesn't have to if you don't want it to, like bringing in Ray Park did not make the Liam Neesons look bad.
Well, Liam Neeson, man, he's been kicking butt since Rob Roy.
He's got a very special skill.
He does. Right?
Yeah. Bad example, exactly. But I will defend this stuff. That I really, really liked when you had, Sabine, put the lightsaber away and pull out your guns. We're trying to be effective. And seeing, like lightsaber wielders and Ezra's, more martial arts centric style, plus someone, popping off shots. I mean, it was like, oh, this is the greatest Dungeons and Dragons team for a Star Wars run I've ever seen. This is really cool. And that's what I was saying. Like, oh yeah, we see the 3 different kind of classes here. Yeah. We have a rogue, a wizard, and a gun wielder. So like, yeah, this is all. I really like that stuff, and I can point to scenes in that I think were really interesting as far as the fighting was concerned. And I do agree that the Ray character, he did everything right. There's nothing, his fighting, his line delivery. Whenever that guy was on screen, that show was working.
Yeah, exactly. When at the end there, where he's standing on the statue of the father, right? Looking at full Mordor, right? Looking at the volcano.
Oh God, yeah.
He's got to get the ring.
No, I read that may be somehow a gateway to the world between worlds. And
yeah, there's a couple of different theories and aspects when we get towards that end there that we can kind of dip into, that I wonder what aggressively relaxing thinks about that as well.
Well, I do want to address a couple things from the chat who are saying some really cool things. You got Evil and Rad. Evil first was bringing up the Night Sisters. Like, yeah, these guys have been around, and they do. They have a big background in the world of Star Wars. But I think, we've talked a lot about this over these 6 episodes. There's a difference between having a big background in the books, comics, video games versus having it put forth in what is, I think everyone agrees, their most prestigious presentation, which is the movies and these shows. So I think they're trying to make the Night Sisters a more major player, to clarify my point, and what's going to go, forward in live action. And then also the Norrin Rad, that this is just ripping off the Ben Gesserit from Dune. And, Dune's amazing. Everyone's ripping that off. And originally, Herbert was just ripping off modern day religion. So,
right.
Yeah, witches are witches are witches. But yeah, I think the fighting's fantastic. And I remember a time in my life when everyone was saying that, what was bad was these new the prequel fights. Like, oh, it's all this jumping around. Just have a fight like they used to. And that used to be what people said. And now it's kind of gone the other way. And I think that the reasons and the style of fighting that we've seen from all these different characters, I guess some, the reasons why they do things are better than others. But yeah, watching someone who was trained in the Clone Wars by Anakin fight with her more athletic style versus someone who Balin style is like really interesting. What I've put forth is like, it kind of looks like, the prequels versus the sequels when they're fighting.
And for the most part, like anything you see in the prequel series, like Clone Wars and Rebels and even Yoda, and he was CGI'd at that time. You can obviously make them do a lot more than you can make a physical person do. So you really can't compare that necessarily. I don't
tell that to Ray Park.
Yeah, they had what's his name's elderly butt doing flips too.
Yeah,
I'm not saying you can't have him do flips, but Yoda was flipping from one statue to the next statue to the next statue.
They had the Emperor doing flips like that as well. In the episode 3, it got wild. And see, I think that's why, like when I watched Clone Wars back in the day, I'm like, this is just emulating what we see in the live action, and now the live action is we just don't see it anymore. It's not the same. So. Yeah. I got to find a way to wrap my brain around it. Like maybe like that level of skill set is lost to that time era when they were able to just train ad nauseum and focus on their craft ad nauseum. There's a council of Jedi. They were peacekeepers that worked together. They had a whole building where they trained them from childhood, like tapping into that level. I mean, it takes time in real life to practice. Like you get good at something, you keep practicing, and perfect practice makes perfect. I mean, these people don't have the ability to perfect practice anymore. So maybe I was chalk it up to that.
Bunch of Boken Jedi, right?
I mean, you might even be able to chalk it up to maybe Filoni and his crew just lean too heavily on the samurai-inspired fighting style. Because if you look at samurai fights, they're not fast, jumpy around. They're stationary, give and take. Like, there's fast movements, but like the body itself. Yeah, I mean, if you look at that, I see a major difference between samurai fights and some of the other stuff that we're talking about. So maybe they leaned too heavily on that.
Here's a good point. Wonder if Balin will come back as CGI or recast. Andy, have you seen the fan cast for Balin yet?
I did. I like
Yeah.
it, but I think I'm going to continue calling my shot for the stands out there that Filoni's going to use this as a the Western cowboy riding off into the sunset, and we'll never see Balin again. They'll probably never approach this again because I think it's a great swan song, if you will, for Ray Stevenson. Like that's thinking about that. I don't know. I mean, Ray Stevenson is literally going to go down as doing one of the most impactful or most powerful acting gigs in Star Wars lore ever. And I think ending it right there like that for the Balin character is not going to give us what we want, but I think it pays homage to Ray Stevenson and how epic of a performance that was. To that's where my heart is. I want more.
Are you talking about Circus, Mark?
Talking about what?
Andy Circus?
No,
That's what I read.
You were talking about Balin, right? With Ray Stevenson?
Yeah.
But I had read that they were thinking of having Andy Circus.
That would be
the
kind of
role.
hard to explain because he's already in Star Wars as a character in
He's
Andor.
already in Andor. Yeah.
Andy was
And here's what
Andy,
I'm hoping.
Andy Circus
I'm
can
hoping they
disappear into a lot of different people, though.
yeah,
heard
that's
Maria
true.
Shriver.
I'm hoping they at least give us like a Tales of the Jedi. Give us like maybe a backstory of Balin and have it animated. That would be like the best way to do it without recasting and that because they could recast, but it's going to be really hard to find
Because if you
somebody
think
as
about
well as
it,
Ray Stevenson to play that role.
If you think about one of the kind of debates or arguments about Ray Stevenson seeing more of him and him becoming like the father and balancing the Force, well, then why was Anakin wearing brown dark robes at the end of the series, at the end of the episode? He's actually bringing balance to the Force. He's not in his white robes. He's not in black robes. He was in brown robes. So that's almost Filoni telegraphing to us that Anakin's taking over that role of balancing the Force.
And a lot of people are saying that it could be the mother because there was like a character that wasn't really part of the family but became part of the family and that and kind of mutated her body and became the mother. That's who they think that Balin is listening to her and hearing.
Yeah, Abeloth, help me out, Aggressive.
Oh, you're nailing it. Yeah, but everything you guys are saying is totally right. It's some deep nerd stuff. I'm impressed by both of you.
Schreiber. Wow.
So people were fan casting Liv Schreiber as a potential decent actor to fill in.
I could see this, and I could see them doing deep fake and making it go okay, but then we're still going to be here a year or two later being like, yeah, we're just like we talked and picked away about the Anakin deep fake thing or the CGI, how they CGI'd his face a little bit there. But
I also saw it was just a picture, but of Viggo Mortensen.
Yeah, that was another one.
Yeah, that's great.
Viggo Mortensen can pull off. I'm just thinking, like, not necessarily the look, but like the part. I think Liv Schreiber would be a decent one. I think
he's already been to Mordor. Viggo's already been to Mordor. So.
Yeah, so he has experience.
It would be perfect to bring into this whole obvious homages to Lord of the Rings constantly in the series.
And Andy mentioned this last week too, didn't you, Andy? Like the concept of masking up. No, Aggressive did. He said everybody's just one mask away.
Yeah.
One cool sick mask will cover, solve this problem quick. No,
that was
an amazing actor.
I think that was one of the theories that either Aggressive or I threw out there was maybe Balin is searching for Abeloth and searching for that entrance to the world between worlds or that tear in the Force or whatever they called it. And that kind of almost is like what Filoni seems to be putting in front of us with that orange pulsating light. And it's on an interval too. So yeah, you're only one mask away from being able to recast that role and continuing on Balin. But God, Ray Stevenson did such a good job.
Yeah.
I mean, he really did. Esteban's got a good point here because I think we should recast him because we all know what happened since Black Panther didn't get recasted. Wakanda Forgettable was awful because of it. I'd argue that there's plenty more reasons, but that's definitely one of them that movie was terrible.
I love that film.
You love everything.
Well, I would say though that I personally want Andy's idea to be right. Like he just disappears and forevermore we're like, man, what's Balin up to? Like that would be great.
High regard, as a winning record. He accomplished everything he was out to accomplish while we saw him,
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, how do you make Ray Stevenson immortal? You leave Balin just like that at the end of that episode, and leave us wondering as Star Wars fans forever, and then maybe come back much further down the line and do something on the origin side of things, like TM said with an animated portion. You get a little bit more on the origin, but he'll forever. Ray Stevenson will forever live on.
And Aggressive messaged me right when the show ended and said, "Oh my God, I hope they film more stuff with Ray Stevenson. Otherwise, we'll be getting a book in the next couple of months that actually explains all this."
Yeah, I'm looking forward to the 6-part comic story that finishes this up, or the novel for sure. But I would just say that
in it enough was it robbed us, because like I remember watching it and like I think it was like 35 minutes in and I was like, okay, where's Balin and Shin? Yeah, like they haven't showed these two like the entire episode, and then I was like, it really took me out of the episode because I was like, okay, how much time is left? There's only 10 minutes left. I was like, okay, when are we gonna get to see them? With it, like, let's end their story in that, but they didn't do that at all.
Well, that's the point I want to make, is that like they were so uniquely not there, and the episode was, I felt, pretty short for what should be a season finale, that I feel like they've just took all the footage they had of this wonderful character that they recognized the world really, really wants more of, and just cut it so they could rework it in another way because of the tragedy. And that's what I think explains why it's short, and I think we will see more of him.
Yeah, it's kind of a double-edged sword. You're damned if you do, and if you don't. Like, people be like, why didn't you recast him if you don't? And people will be like, why did you recast him? Why didn't you just leave it alone? This is one of those situations where there's no way that they're going to make everyone happy, and I mean to a large degree. The internet is unforgiving.
Like I said, Tales of the Jedi, man, they brought back what's his name, Count Dooku, and that for that, and gave us a little bit of a backstory to him, and seeing how his story went. They could still do the same thing with even Shin and Balin. Because when they did Tales of the Jedi, it was between Ahsoka and Count Dooku. They could do one now with Shin and Balin.
Everybody would watch a whole 1, 2, 3 seasons of the Shin Balin story and how they got there, whether it's animated. We'd be all over that.
Yeah. Yeah, I've already, and this sounds goofy, but I've already been looking to see if Hasbro was even going to do a Star Wars Black Series figure of him, because that's going to be like the last character that he did. And I think it'd just be cool to have. And turns out, I think they announced one, or I saw where they finally popped up with one like a week ago or something. It looks pretty dope. Yeah, very true, Esteban.
There are no announcements for a novelization of any of these characters yet. I will let you guys know.
Keep us posted.
We went to Barnes & Noble this weekend and started diving into Star Wars books, looking for anything we didn't have that we could throw on the shelf, waiting for us to get caught up.
And I just put in the chat, how many people of you would pay and subscribe to a Patreon of aggressively relaxing reading these novels instead of getting it off of audiobook or something? Because I want his enthusiasm. I would Patreon up in a heartbeat for that.
Me with the occasional breaks when solicitors call, and then he does. Dude, I laid in bed for an hour one night watching those phone calls with AR. I'm like laughing and
oh, thanks, man.
Like, go to sleep. I'm like, you gotta watch this. She's like, tomorrow.
I went live for one of the first times ever on my channel the other day, and serendipitously got a spam call while live. It was amazing. But I think one of my favorite parts about this, there's another YouTube channel called Star Wars Santa, and I don't know if you guys have ever heard of this guy. He is fantastic, very, very positive. Is a place that I like to talk Star Wars, and he does this thing where you have to make guesses, predictions. It's like 10 questions and then one big prediction. And mine was that Ezra is going to get a lightsaber from Huyang. And I was so happy to be right all the time about this stuff. And that scene was amazing.
And you called that last week, even that it would be have to do with Kanan as well.
Like, there's a little part of that where he goes, no, that emitter is too thin. And it's such an amazing moment because, like, in the throughout Rebels, they always had very thin lightsabers. Him and Kanan, those two characters always were rocking these very thin lightsabers. And at the time, there was a bunch of nerd articles being like, this is how it was originally envisioned in the original Star Wars artwork. Really, this is more Star Wars. And now he's got a fatter lightsaber. And I thought that was definitely a little nod to lightsaber building. His style has evolved. So that was all wonderful. And back to the original Elspeth conversation we're having, I don't think I made the point that the second I saw that sword and I thought of Mace Windu, I figured Ezra would be the one to fight her simply because they were going to play into like the Jedi heritage that Mace Windu's Padawan, would still wreck whoever, wields that sword. But I was,
really cool.
It would have been a nice little deep cut, but I was still super happy with what we got. And also the throwing of Ezra and having to trust Sabine and trust in the Force. What a wonderful moment.
That was like, I know that the internet's been like, the people that detract from this show, like I watched plenty of stuff that people were like, and I was one of them. I had zero expectations for this show. Go back and watch the first 2 episodes of Out Weeks In where we did 1 and 2. I was not like, yeah, this part was cool. The rest was just, yeah. I wasn't sold till 3, and I was just kind of blown away progressively after that. But the people that decided they hated this show before it started, like, really are in my opinion, having a hard time justifying what's so bad about it at this point. And one of the things that they were happy with this finale,
These people that are really, really mad about Star Wars, yes, it's very performative, and it is.
I was about to say it.
Feel bad for them. It's a hard job.
Yeah, because y'all know me. I will baptize Disney in a heartbeat, like especially Star Wars or comic stuff. Like they've honestly hurt my feelings when it comes to my fandom. So I'm like ecstatic to be excited for Star Wars. I never give them a free pass. I don't even give them an easy pass. Yeah, Esteban, that was jaded, Mark. And Esteban went back and forth with me, like suggesting me to check out these other things that I hadn't yet because he recognized how bummed out I was about it. But seeing these people super duper mad about Sabine being dialed into the Force and Sabine getting Force sensitive and all that stuff, I liked it. I don't feel like it came out of nowhere. I don't feel like it was like a random thing they did. It isn't like some kind of like, oh, women power movement thing. It just seemed like a normal progression for this character at this point in her life with some major potential ramifications, because I don't think she's clear-minded. Like, I think that this character has like some demons to deal with. Like, she's got a lot of anger, and we know what that leads. We have another Force user with anger issues on her hand. And I like that aspect of it too. There's just so much that can be done that's really cool. And this is a Mandalorian on top of that. Like, there's so many levels of awesomeness that can come from her.
Yeah, I was reading online that an article that said that the 3 most important characters for Star Wars for the next decade are Thrawn, Ezra, and Sabine.
I'd be okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Me too.
Yeah, I'm super fine with all 3 of those characters. Bring Hera, like at least.
Yeah. All right.
That was another thing that sucked with this episode too. We didn't get like a clear shot of up, down, below from Hera in this episode. I was bummed about that.
We still had Sabine, bless her, but like we haven't talked about the zombies.
Well, what
and
did y'all think of Sabine's whole like Force thing? Where do y'all stand on her being a Force user before we get into the zombies? Because this show's going downhill when we get into that shit.
Yeah, I know. I
enjoyed it.
I want to hear it. As far as the Sabine thing, the Force is here between me, you, Paul. It's everywhere. That rock over there, and even in, Sabine. That's listen to Yoda, everyone.
I mean, surrounds us and penetrates us, right? It's like
exactly.
Yeah, the Force. What if Filoni say the Force is within everybody, or that's gone around a couple of times. They've spoken about that in some interviews, but I think it's more about the way that this was accomplished in this episode. Was it was too easy. Where was the fight? For as hard as it should have been, for as low on the list of a priority, if you will, when it came to being a Force user, it just clicked on. And I get it, much like how adrenaline works when people are in combat or a fight or flight mode, but it was just too quick and short and over with, and there wasn't much of a build up. And I'm not on one side or the other about her being Force sensitive. I don't mind whatever they're going to write. I just hope they write it really well. This did not feel like it was written well for me.
I
think
didn't
the
agree with.
grab was spot on.
Yeah, the lightsaber grab was pretty sweet. I love that. There at one point I was like looking over at Ezra to see if he actually pushed it, because we've had so many fake outs of her getting the Force, but the fact that she was able to push him in a long distance without hesitation was kind of like, okay, so now she's like an expert in the Force. Like, she can wield this with no ease at all after she just did it once. That was the
She's
issue.
a regular Ray Palpatine.
I mean, I get what you're saying, but also size matters not. I mean, distance.
The training matters
Yoda
so.
all night long.
I mean, just Yoda said it. When you feel the Force, anything's possible.
Yeah, and I also looked at it as though she was. I mean, to me, what she did with Ezra was probably, and then one of the easiest things that someone with a Jedi, she wasn't trying. I didn't see her as though she was actually necessarily, pinpointing him and moving him up. It was just this big force that ejected out of her and pushed him up to where it was. It's not like she was trying to balance rocks or anything like else. It was just this. It was the emotion of her that kind of just pushed him forward.
And Mike has a good point. All the time Sabine used the Force was out of love for Ezra, and
Right.
that'd be a good point. But it, like to Andy's point, it wasn't necessarily conveyed well with the writing. They could have, like, it's an execution thing. And I say it a lot. Like, on paper, all of this stuff sounds fine, but how did you present it? How did you execute it? Now, for me, when Sabine and Ezra got to the top of the tower and they stood there like, oh, it's too far. I'm like, no, it's not. Just jump. Like, that's what I'm like. It's not too far. Like, why are y'all waiting on it to get too far? Oh, they're about to do a Force thingy. Right. So I can see like the execution wasn't exactly polished for all of that stuff.
Well, I would say the tradition of every single Star Wars story, basically ever, is I can't do this. Oh, here's the thing you can't do on a grander scale. Oh, hey, I can do it. And that starts with Luke, removing the thing, all the way up to Rey just being like, I guess I can heal people now. That's cool. And you just don't know, like how the Force will itself, or how the special powers will manifest. And it's, at this point, it's decades of stories of Jedi doing all sorts of, extraordinary things and different types of magic, the exact moment it's supposed to. And that's why, Ahsoka trusts in that feeling. And that's why your Liam Neesons and your Ahsoka characters or your Yodas are so matter of fact about the fact that, like, I'm going to win or I'm going to lose. The Force is going to will it. And I'm going to trust in that it's all going to work out.
Let's touch on these terrible. Let's touch on these terrible zombies. The horrible, terrible zombies, which I might be the only one that feels that way. So y'all take off on it, because I'll end it on a negative note.
I had more fun watching the actors and the doubles trip and fall over themselves going up the stairs or down the stairs and picking out those little pieces. Like, it fit in really good. I liked the zombie side of it. I'm going to let AR do his thing and go into a little bit more depth on how the connections are made in there. I appreciated it, and I really appreciated that the Death Troopers for Thrawn were already zombies, and then we found that out when she broke off a part of the mask. I thought that was so they had been zombies this whole time. I liked it.
Well, I have to wonder about the line, so they have been these are the dead reawakened. We're going to send our scariest troopers to go stop them. And also, the Night Sisters are going to give Thrawn a line to reassure him that these guys, 6 years ago died, or, at various times died on various missions. But before they died, every single one of them definitely said, "For you, sir, go ahead and zombify me. I'm down for the cause, even after I'm dead." And I felt like that was a weird line for people who already are zombified, but there's no denying the scene we have happen later. And I've heard Mark's point, and I like it. The lumbering zombies were a bit cliche. You can go back and look at the Clone Wars. They were also doing it. It was definitely homaging.
Why weren't they lumbering the whole time? Why was it after they get reanimated again? Why do they have to moan? This isn't The Walking Dead. How are they going to set this apart from George Romero or Kirkman? Like, it wasn't set apart. It wasn't made to be, this is this. It's just, this is everything you've always seen before. And the fact they were already zombies. Why all of a sudden are they, like, we just saw like a zombie dust fart monster in a suit duel like a Jedi. Why are these people having a hard time even taking one step forward all of a sudden? It made zero sense.
And I heard you make that point like a couple days ago, and I've just been arming up. So get ready.
Also, like you have those night troopers acting slow, and then you have the other ones that are fighting with Sabine and Ezra walking like normal people, and they're not like shuffling around. They're actually picking up the characters, and that not like mindless zombies like we had with the night troopers. So what's the difference about bringing them back? Why are these ones walking fine while these ones are walking like idiots?
Yeah, Merrick's a ninja. These guys all have various level of ability. And then we also have got two special zombies on top of the, tower in case someone gets up here. They don't lumber. They're just awesome. And, I don't. Yeah, because it immediately makes you think about, the practical process of just like, man, we zombified these guys. And I got to tell you, Steve and Mike just standing out. We got to get them some cooler armor. And if anything goes down, put it on top of the zombies. And that's funny to think about. But I guess this all can be explained away with, like, what do you guys know about Night Sister magic? They got one spell,
That's the best you got. You had all week.
Well, I think it's a fair point. Like, I don't.
I get, okay, I'll give you that. Like, in a haste, in the midst of battle, they had to use like the spell from wish.com. They couldn't use the spell that takes a little bit of time, some scented candles, holding hands to really like get some precision trooper out of it. I got you. Okay.
Exactly. Like, perhaps some of it, it's like it's like an AoE attack, basically. We used it on Merrick, and he got a full dosage of it. Whereas these guys are all sharing, what's left of life essence that we've allowed them to have here. So that's what I would put forth. I just, I'll let you know if they ever put out the Night Sister handbook. We'll figure this out. And, that will come out in our lifetime. Don't worry. We'll get a spell book. Yeah.
Was the same spell
that
Holden used to reanimate the dead before. Yeah, I just, again, it's like concept wise. Yeah, you can concept it to make it fine. It was an execution thing for me. Like there shouldn't, like, there's them walking like that shouldn't have been the thing. Just the reveal through the mask is like, oh snap, I knew it. They were dead this whole time, because nobody can survive just traveling through hyperspace raw like that. Like, that was like an epiphany I had, like, when we got there a few weeks back. I'm like, yeah, that's why they're all dead. Gotta be.
Yeah, I remember talking about that, and you're totally right. They got glass in these windows on spaceships for a reason. You can't just go flying around. But we also don't exactly know how the Purgil work. When they enter hyperspace.
I was going to say, can she just take the trip back inside of them?
No. This is, to me, this is simple. Like, I felt no sense of dread for Ahsoka, Sabine, whoever's there. Doesn't matter who's there. So how did Morgan get there? With
Well,
this with the raw parts they stole from the good guys, right? So the good guys have what they need to get there. Like this place, though, like they don't have the exact.
They don't have the map.
to get
They don't
there.
have the map though.
They
yeah,
don't
like
have the
Balin
exact
said,
mystical map, but Balin made that one line of dialogue that this place is not just some hidden mystery unknown to nobody. Go grab some ancient books. Go hit up some old stuff with a simple little. We went down to that old library and found this book right here. So we're going to shoot for it. We're going to go to this point, see if it's there. If not, we'll try some other ones because we can just travel now. We know the general direction that way.
I
And
think they just
possibly
wait for
the world
for
between worlds.
the Purgle round trip. That's what they do.
yeah, I think
I don't know
what
if the
TM's
Purgle
going
is
to
coming
say.
back
Great.
because like
You're going to bring up
uh,
the connection, right?
What
Between
is it, TM?
yeah, go ahead.
the world between worlds. Like I feel like that's going to come back, and like I know you guys don't think that there's going to be a season 2, but Filoni has stated, and I forget a few other people have stated that if the season does good, there will be a season 2 because we're so far out. Like we will have Skeleton Crew with Thrawn probably showing up in that or like mentioned because it's taking place at the same time. But the world between worlds might come up again because Ahsoka was there. We have like a ghost spirit of Anakin at the end. We have Balin potentially looking for the world between worlds. So I think that'd be how she gets back. Maybe it will be after Palpatine somehow returned. So
I think how Palpatine returned was Thrawn showed back up, got all them boys with the cloning technology back together, showed up with these witches, and he's like, "Look, man, I've got witches, I've got clones." And Palpatine's spirit's like, I appreciate it. What do you need? And he's gonna be like, I need some Star Destroyers with giant laser cannons strapped to them to go, mess up the Grisk. And I think that's what happens. I think he's the reason Palpatine gets all the things he needs, besides Rey, to finish his new plan of coming back. I think this is a story of Thrawn's victory.
And
I agree with that too,
how
because
Palpatine actually comes back, I think, is to your point, is Thrawn says, "Hey, witches, you got you got one in there to bring back an emperor, right?"
He sure is red when we see him next.
This is a good point too. I didn't even think about this, but they have actual ships that have been there at this point.
Yeah.
They just go back that way. The ship says we're over here. Go that way.
He's still, the Emperor's still out there building the biggest armada in existence. This guy has stayed loyal. He's brought the goods. So, maybe Thrawn gets what he wants. Maybe that's the story of where he is in the era of Rey. But to the
a lot of
point
people
of
are
how
thinking he's going to die.
yeah, they've never given him a big sympathetic moment on screen. He's just always been a bastard. So, how do you make the audience care about, helping, albeit an evil man, his world that he genuinely wants to help? There is another, great evil out there in the galaxy coming because, we got to give Finn and them something to do. That's the story of Star Wars, right? This thing continues on. Balin said it. But to the point of how they get back, you have some people believe that the world between worlds, where they went, might be a physical space there on that planet, and that's what Balin's heading towards. That when they were transferred there, they were literally brought to that place. That there's some architecture that looks similar, and that there's this obvious reverence for the origins of the Force with these giant statues. So that it could be as simple as walking through the door, to a Luke Skywalker on the other side of the galaxy.
And if you notice, though, in the statues, the father and the son were intact. The daughter, she was destroyed.
Yeah,
She
man,
was
that's a lot.
killed, and her essence was put into Ahsoka. So Ahsoka has the essence of the daughter in her.
But even like I'm saying, even those statues just physically represent, exactly that.
And about the name of the episode, I saw a lot of people saying it was referencing the Lion, the Witch, in the Wardrobe.
Yeah.
What was the name of the episode?
The
The
Jedi,
War-
the Witch, and the Warlord.
Yeah, the Jedi, the Witch, and the Warlord.
Oh, nice. Who was Aslan?
I didn't, and I'm a big Narnia fan. I didn't even think of that. I'd seen other people say it. I thought, oh yeah, but I thought it was referencing the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you take the Lion, I mean, the Warlord is obviously Thrawn. The Jedi is got to be either Ezra or Ahsoka, I would think. And that, who in the story, the Lion was Aslan, who was the representation of Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mike said the son had Anakin's scar as well. There's so much little
for
hidden
real,
like
Mike?
stuff
That's
in here,
awesome.
man. Like it's crazy. Like it's one of those things. The more that you watch, you can go back to this show and get so much more out of it. This is we kind of mentioned it. This is definitely made for the fans again, and not necessarily the fans of only a specific thing, but the hard-lining fans of Star Wars. They really decided to deep cut for the fans.
And I think this episode, in a lot of ways, more than the others, really laid in heavily on what came before. Like I said, I mean, the Sword of Talzin. You have the spell that she cast. It was the exact same spell that had been used previously. You can see the statues of the father, the son, the daughter. So there was just so much stuff, I think, in this one that referenced back to Clone Wars and Rebels.
Oh yeah, man.
Well, there's
All that other stuff, that was all tie-ins. We're watching event books now. That's what that
Yeah, exactly. We're watching a lot of setup, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like this is them finally moving on to the next chapter of Star Wars. And you see it in the High Republic as well.
Hell yeah.
They just started up the next part of that story, and Star Wars is finally moving on with the Thrawn stuff, and we'll see what happens next.
Yeah, and what's really cool is I know you guys touched base on it a little bit about the Thrawn getting there with the Night Sisters to Dothmir, but what if the Night Sisters' plan is to ditch Thrawn so they can raise that Zepho deity or that Zepho king, because his grave, or his, what do you call it, that sanctuary, what do they call it? The tomb's on Dothmir, if I remember correctly, right, AR?
Yeah, who knows what they got on Dathomir. I wouldn't go there with those kicks. Yeah, but you're right.
Because that's that one of the tombs that you search out in the game is Cal Kestis, if I'm remembering.
So I do gotta ask.
They did
one of the big.
Go ahead, TM.
Go ahead. I was just gonna say, like, they did wake up. They said they woke up the sisters, the witches. Like Thrawn woke them up, and the theory is that everything that's in those crates are Dathomir's sisters, or sisters from that are not awake, and they're bringing them back to Dathomir to raise them. They're not night soldiers. They're actual witches from Dathomir, or from that whatever it's called. I forget what it's called. The planet that they were on. So I think like that's why they're giving so much of themselves to Thrawn, because they're just like, okay, you woke us up. We would still be asleep. We'd still be in whatever state we were in if it wasn't for you. So we are your servants right now. If you can help us bring back Dathomir, we will help you with whatever plan you have. And that's why they're working so well together.
Yeah, that's what I was about.
And then
I think that was one of the biggest missteps for this to feel like a finale, was to not at least get the reveal of what's inside of those cargo pieces. But just judging from the chat, and I didn't even think about it being more Night Sisters, or I even saw Mike posting there earlier. Could it be like the Dathomir males inside?
Yeah, shout out to Beckerman too. They're both saying, where are these guys at? You got these 3 girls who are running this planet. They've got a bunch of, we all want to say coffins whenever we talk about these things. But let's talk about that though. Like, it sounds creepy, but why? Like, we've seen how effective, zombies are against regular troopers. Dathomir got beat with zombie magic. Thrawn nearly got beat with zombie magic. What makes these? These have to be a variety of super zombies. There's no shortage of dead bodies in the world of Star Wars. So yeah, what would be so special? And people are saying, the males, but again, it still is what it is. You're bringing back what? So many, individual troops. So what else could it be?
But Thrawn brings up a good point in the episode where he's just like, Night Sisters and Jedi alike have cheated death. So maybe Night Sisters have that ability to cheat death, and they wouldn't be brought back as zombies. They'd be brought back as themselves. So that is a possibility, and the possibility that Thrawn will bring back Palpatine, like you guys stated earlier. The reason why is because of the Night Sisters bringing back Palpatine, and that's how he returns. Because Filoni has a way of cleaning up some messes, like he did it with the prequels. Some people did not like I want to emphasize that because Mark liked the prequels. And kind of cleaned up some messes for us. Filoni did with the Clone Wars and then with Rebels and that. So he might be actually cleaning up like a little bit of unanswered questions for the sequels, like how somehow Palpatine returned. So
again,
referred to it as resources and cargo most of the time. He kept saying cargo. The cargo is almost loaded. Get the cargo, and we know it was all coming out of the caves. Like they had it with whether that's where he found it or that's where they just stored them until they're ready to put it on the.
Yeah, maybe the Night Sisters were able to throw a little Jedi wave in front of them to say, "This is cargo." Anytime you reference it or look at it, it's just cargo. Because they potentially have some power over Thrawn. As smart as he is, as much of a tactician as he is.
Yeah, just thinking about that, y'all said something that made me think about timeline wise, they're going to have to explain why Thrawn is gone eventually. You know what I mean? They're going to have to do something. He's got to be somewhere else, or he's going to have to die. And I could just already picture the Night Sisters getting what they want out of him, and being, we're done listening to this guy and just you're done. Where hubris gets him in the end, kind of thing. And it's not even the good guys that take him out.
Well, I would, point out that Timothy Zahn's working on these books. That is something that's happening. So there's more Thrawn story coming out, and there's not a whole lot of prequel left that you could do with that character. They've already gone very far back in his military career, kind of explained how he became, Space Sherlock, and they've set up a lot of things in this other universe with this character Eli Vanto, who is a human character who's always been his Dr. Watson, who got sent to the Chiss Ascendancy basically to be one of the first to do the same thing that Thrawn did, just over there. He's just a human in a working on a starship full of Chiss. So, and we also have met Thrawn's sister, who is what is known as a Skywalker in that society. Those are the people that can travel through hyperspace using the Force, but it's only young women in that society, and then it fades away from you. So,
go ahead.
They've just set up a lot of backstory and all of these things going on in this other universe. I just can't help but think they're going to let Timothy Zahn take another crack at a trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
He's gone home with the resources Palpatine promised him, in my opinion, and that is why he would, turn to a Rey Skywalker, when things are starting to go wrong in his army, and he's been cut off from Palpatine because obviously the Emperor's been defeated. So now he needs, backup from any other source, and who is left in the world, but these, Jedi who seem to be able to pull out a win where there's a loss always. So explaining a desperate Thrawn coming to, like I said, Finn and Rey and Poe and them.
Sledge says, great tactician, have a hostage, release them, and send someone to kill the person you just had. Makes sense to me. He revealed in the very next episode that all of that was just to get the Jedi away from him and to hold the other Jedi back, and he's leaving. Like, he's leaving without any Jedi. Like, and he pointed that out when they were loading the cargo, that was all actually a tactical move to prolong people out there for as long as they needed to get loaded up to leave. Like, he didn't want Balin on that ship with him. He didn't want Shin on that ship with him. And he dang sure didn't want Ezra coming back. He doesn't care if they're alive or dead out there as long as they're out there.
Yeah, I love that whole story. It's just people keep showing up that are wild cards to his plan, and they're like, look, I want to go do something. He's like, good. Go nuts. Get off my ship. Whatever, man.
He's like, yeah, they're moving a little faster than I thought. Send 2 TIE fighters. Just 2. Send 2. I want the rest of them. Yeah, he didn't have any major crazy tactician moments other than in that one episode we saw that he was anticipating the Purgle showing up. He with people with him. He had the mindset for that. He was anticipating Ezra like potentially showing up because these people showed up, so he sent Sabine toward Ezra and then people to go slow them down behind them, thus clearing out all the Jedi out of his house. So we got a couple moments, and I really did like when at the end when Ahsoka and Sabine were chasing him, trying to catch up to him before he hit light speed, when he just dialed in and kind of just gloated for a moment, like I really enjoyed that little speech he just felt compelled to give her.
What was the last thing he said? Long live the Empire, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, which is for book readers, the question is like, is this guy gone mad? Is he working the long con? Is the the memory of the Emperor and the fact that we can get back to all that, I'm sure everything's fine. He's still in charge. Is this what has kept his unit together? That's why he's doing, the reverence for the Emperor, because traditionally, he was scared of that guy, and it made sense because, the Emperor is the, most evil character in all of fiction, and that's why we love him.
Where do y'all see it going from here? Where does all this lead? Y'all started talking about a second season TV show.
We need the actor strike to be done with yet. That's going to take some time. If that carries forward into November, it's going to carry through the holidays into next year. Mm-hmm. They're not going to accomplish much through the holiday season if they're still on strike and they're not making any ground. So that's step number 1 right there, in my opinion.
I hope that they get a season 2 just to explore Peridia. That's the name of it, right?
Yep.
And get like a story of like where Ahsoka and Sabine are, their training, more of those little hermit crab things, and maybe some more of a Shin. I don't know if Shin's gonna ever appear back again. How she ended was kind of silly. I thought she was gonna make it back to the ship at least, but now she's just going to lead these raiders. Sadly, we won't get a Balin story. We might if they recast, but to wait to say like, oh, we're going to show everything in the next movie that we're doing would be kind of stupid because that's so far away.
All of it seems so far away, especially considering the good news is like with the order of operations with making this stuff, the writers aren't on strike. So they're actively working and they're actively probably playing catch up. And like being a writer, like you're not sitting there writing in front of you. There's no way that these people weren't thinking, plotting, right. We all know James Gunn was writing nonstop during the thing, just not.
Right, exactly. I can write now.
Yeah. Oh, thank God.
I can guarantee you he was definitely doing that. He will never admit it, but he was.
Yeah. Like the day before the writers went on official strike, he's like, just let you know, I finished Superman today. Writers strike.
And the same thing with the actors too, right? He said, he's like, the actors are on strike. He's like, but as soon as they're back, I can tell you who I cast.
Yeah. Like they're on strike. publicly, but they're doing stuff. I mean, they can't have anybody on set doing this or that, but these people, they're hungry for a paycheck. So when they're coming off of it, they're ready to go get that paycheck and be polished and everything. So yeah, we'll see what happens.
Here's the question: do we know if we're getting another season of Mandalorian yet? And then there's do we know? Are we getting another? We're getting a couple other things, but like the core shows that are leading into the movies, if we're getting more seasons of those core shows, then we're bound to get a season 2 of Ahsoka.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I don't want another season of Mandalorian. They ruined it for me.
I hear there's a potential of getting a season 4, or it could be a movie, just ending it out. Just because Baby Grogu's gonna like be a big part, and a lot of people are saying Grogu is not gonna die. Something's gonna happen in that he's a cash clown right now. Yeah. He is bringing in the money, so they're not gonna kill him off. I don't think they'll ever kill Ahsoka off either, but Din Djarin, Boba Fett, those two are still alive. They might show how they potentially die in the future, and that like have that scene for the next big heir to the Empire with Thrawn.
Wouldn't it be funny if
they'll
Thrawn
do that?
A Sarlacc pit?
Yeah,
like, that would just be.
I had read too that they were, rather than doing like an 8-episode season 4 of The Mandalorian, that they may do like maybe 2 90-minute type episodes, or really longer episodes instead, that would then kind of lead into the movie.
Well, they've done everything as chapters within the seasons, right? So they could do that easily enough and call it Chapter X or whatever number you want to throw in there, for sure. And maybe instead of looking at seasons, I kind of like that idea where you're at, man. Sector, we're looking at 90-minute, maybe 60 to 90-minute chapters. Right. And we get 2 or 3 of them leading up into the movies that kind of fill in some of those gaps, because I don't feel like the Star Wars universe right now is prepared to move into a movie yet. I also don't feel like there's enough that needs to happen to give a whole nother full season of Ahsoka and a whole nother full season of something else and a whole nother full season of, you know what I mean? Like, we're stuck in the middle.
Yeah, they like doing seasons because the goal is to gain subscribers.
Right.
The goal is to keep subscribers, but
I wouldn't want them to do I wouldn't want them to do a season just because they're waiting for the movie to show up to get to there.
Yeah, the people writing the checks though are going to want to see money flowing too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
They will also have Skeleton Key coming, which is a TV series that probably will tie in with Thrawn as well returning. I'm with also.
Oh, go ahead.
I forget what I was going to say, but yeah, go ahead. It'll come back to me.
Well, I'm with TM where Sabine, Ahsoka, Grogu, the head aspects or characters within Star Wars right now over the next 4 or 5 years, they're going to do something with them more and keep them forward in the mindset because of the action figures, the collectible cards. How many box breaks are we going to do, Mark, over the next 4 or 5 years on Star Wars cards? Like, seriously, they're going to keep these characters at the forefront of our mouth on the tip of our tongues somehow.
Right.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say. It's that they might end like the whole Din Djarin type of story and move to Bo-Katan and do a Mandalorian season just on her. And then that got me thinking too. Not only will we have the Mandalorians back because they're all working together now on Mandalore, we also have the Night Sisters coming back to Dathomir, if that's who is in the cases. So we're going to have a big out war. Like, this will probably be the biggest thing to ever happen to Star Wars in a while. If we do have like the Night Sisters, the Mandalorians, we actually get to see it on like multiple streams, whether it be on TV shows or movies for the next 5 years. It's going to be epic, I think.
Agreed.
I think AR is making the movie himself down there.
Yeah, I was about to say, I just realized this has been escalating the whole time we've been here.
Well, that's what's happening to the Star Wars universe. It's a great transition for me. Like, what we have that we're building towards is we have, a couple more shows. I've heard Acolyte already has a couple episodes that are done, and people are saying this is awesome.
That's High Republic, though, right?
Yeah, that's High Republic era.
Right.
And I have not read. I should have, but I have not read the new High Republic. And the High Republic has been interesting because what they did was they gave us some brand new characters. Look at the Jedi being space cops and peacekeepers. Here's a bunch of fun adventures. And then things got really dark
Yeah.
and they were being tested. And then they stopped the story and they gave themselves prequels, which was interesting. They
Did
just,
you say that you didn't read the new comic that came out
I
last
have
week?
not read today. Yeah, this week's
Ooh.
comic. I
2
have.
words for you. Guardian Protocol.
Oh man.
Have you caught? Are you semi caught up on volume 2 then, AR?
Yeah, I have read every single piece of High Republic material except for this one comic right here that I have in my hand.
Mhm.
So I just need to read this, and I wonder where this is taking place. If it's taking place directly after the destruction of Starlight, because it's called Shadow of Starlight,
It
so that makes sense.
Yep.
So we finally get to find out what happened to Buri Yaga and things like that. And for people that don't know, the very first part of the High Republic was, like I said, a bunch of nice Jedi are doing nice things, and they have their own Death Star, except it's nice. It shows up to places and does nice things for planets. So they were setting up a reverse Death Star, and that's how they ended it. The bad guys, sure enough, destroyed the good Death Star. It's like poetry. It all rhymes.
It rhymes.
So we don't know what they're going to do with the High Republic next, and if Acolyte's going to be set during that time, or maybe a little bit closer to the era of Luke in them. So we're not exactly sure where it's going to be, but people are saying it's great. I think, having that time gives you the ability to create the weight of history. So you can say hundreds of years ago, X happened. And now, Rey and teenage Grogu and Omega, who is I think that she is a clone with the Force. We have a Yoda who dresses like a Mandalorian. And I'm pretty sure that Ben I think our Mando and Bo-Katan are going to get married, and we're going to have Yoda be the little prince of Mandalore, and they're going to take that all back. That's what I want to happen personally. But the point is, we're heading towards a point in time where it's all of the different characters all the imagery but now in a different way, fighting
Teenage.
this new
Grogu's
universe.
already 50 years old.
I do have a nitpick. It's a minor nitpick of this last episode of Ahsoka. A certain character didn't show up that showed up at the end of Mandalorian season 3, who I was just like, okay, he showed up here. He's definitely going to show up there. He didn't show up. Zeb didn't show up at all.
Yeah,
and I was like,
Zeb,
why
right?
have him at the end of Mandalorian if you're not going to have him in there? Like, he's a creation of... But I'm so upset. Like, you could have had him just there at the end meeting up with Ezra, but they just decided not to go that way, I guess.
He was going to go, but he just stayed at that bar with Filoni.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see where it all goes. Switching gears here, did everybody check out episode 1 of Loki season 2?
Yes.
I did.
This
Yeah.
is the 1 week we have the crossing of streams of shows. Andy, do you keep up with Loki? Or is
I wanted to like it. I enjoyed the first season, but I mean, it was kind of like nothing about the second, nothing news wise or hearing about the second season has excited me enough to sit down and watch it. Like, I'm sure I'll probably watch it next weekend when we've got nothing going on. I'll try to catch up on a couple episodes, but like, I haven't heard anything excitement wise from the community. I've heard that it's good, but it's just, that's one of the big drivers why I stay attached to social media is not to gauge where I want to be on things, but to gauge kind of where everybody else is at and whether I use social media as kind of like a barometer or a compass to, should I divide or should I allow this much of my time to be utilized by this asset right now? And if the better part of this community is not talking about it, I'm not going to do it. That's a little
Yeah,
weird.
It just came out Thursday, so a lot of people are like, "No, we won't spoil it for anybody."
Yeah,
I'm going to be honest with you. This, like, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good, but there's no way that I see that the MCU has any piss left in it. Like, I just think it's seamless. To be honest with you, you can watch them, enjoy them, but I just don't. they've burned too many bridges. They've torn too much down. The only thing that they have in front of them is the Marvels. All that being said, I still watch. It's kind of like The Boys. Like the people that watch The Boys love The Boys, but you don't see everyone going around huddling in masses to talk about The Boys. They're like, "Hey, did you watch that? It was cool." That was the whole discussion in the social media sphere, and I think that's how Loki's going to be more or less. But I enjoyed this episode.
By the way, I think they've changed the name of the movie to Captain Marvel 2, I believe.
2. Yeah.
It's not the Marvel.
Did they really?
Yep.
Oh my
I
god,
hadn't seen that news.
Yeah,
That's terrible.
they are floundering. They did test screenings and it received the worst test screening of any Marvel movie to date. And they're like, maybe we should call it Captain Marvel 2. That's how we fix a bad movie. Change the name of it.
So I absolutely loved the first episode of Loki. It was one of my favorite MCU TV shows. When the TV shows like WandaVision was all right, but I can't go rewatch WandaVision. But I went and rewatched Loki before episode 1 came out, and I was happily surprised. Now there has been screeners of all 4 episodes have come out, and the census say that episode 2 is their least favorite, but gets better in episode 3, and then episode 4 is absolutely fantastic. So guys, make sure to get through episode 2 and just know that episode 3 will be so much better than episode 2.
Oh, it's interesting.
One was a blast.
Yeah, OB was hysterical.
Yeah.
He's like,
Yes.
I don't have one of those. Oh wait, I do have one of those.
Yeah,
I
it
love
was a
love
very
the switch up between like screenshots and that, how he would be just like talking and then it'd screenshot back to him, and how they cut that was perfect. I absolutely love that scene.
yeah, the whole time it was like, you know, Bill and Ted did that same joke, just like more concisely.
Right. Mm-hmm.
You know, like, what if we did have the keys though? Just think about if we would go and do this later, and then the keys magically appear. Oh yeah, I did believe him here, and that was, you know, why that scene could go on was because, you know, Mobius, and Loki. I mean, I could watch those guys read a phone book. When he wrote "skin?" question mark on the side of that computer, God, I've been laughing about that for days. It's just
it had some like it was comical without feeling campy.
Right.
It was emotional, but still felt adventurous. Like it was a very well written episode.
And a lot of the CG. I was talking to someone just a little while ago when Loki was time slipping, it looked incredibly painful.
It looked so gross. I didn't
go
want to
back
say anything.
On like where you're saying it's funny without even trying, like that whole elevator scene. Like I had to pause it for a second because I bursted out laughing because I couldn't handle it. Just like cut back to like that character that's just standing there and just didn't even have to say anything. Yeah. Like, how does it look to you? Like,
yeah, but story wise, we just have Loki time slipping between an alternate timeline where it's revealed that Kang is in control of the TVA.
Yep.
The TVA dealing with the fact that they're leaderless. They thought the timekeepers were a real thing. Got revealed they weren't. I feel like it's been so long since season 2. Like the recap was a necessity, and even then there was still a lot I had to pick up cues from watching it. But yeah, there was really just Loki running around trying to get his feet on solid ground and on one timeline because he was bouncing back and forth between 2. I have no clue where this season's going to go, where it's supposed to go, what it's supposed to do. I'll be completely honest with you. I'm not overly excited about it, but I'm definitely a little more optimistic than I was before episode 1. But
yeah. And I mean, Loki's had the longest, most important story arc, I think, of almost any Marvel character. He started off as almost the big bad guy, right, in the first Avengers movie and Thor, and now he looks like he may be the person that's going to save the universe in Loki season 2, or at least leading into, you know, whatever comes after it.
God, does anybody?
Also,
yeah, we have a lot to look forward to.
Two.
Echo, Agatha, the Marvels 2. That's all that we really have lined up. Is just wah, wah, wah.
Yeah.
I think my sister-in-law gets killed in Agatha. She's an extra, so I'm really looking forward to Agatha. You know, no offense to her,
No,
But it's
none
gonna be
taken.
fun.
None taken. I'm going to appreciate your sister-in-law more than you and not watch it because I don't want to see her go through that.
But I mean, I think that actress is hilarious. That's her name, Han.
Catherine Hahn. Yes, she is.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, again, she's
that's-
all charisma. And I like where they're going with the story of Loki. You know, that like there was stages of this man trying to take over and trying to find the right system that worked. And you know, at some point he realized there can't just be his face everywhere. They had to feel like, you know, it was teamwork. And he ended up, you know, stealing kind of like corporate tricks to try to keep everyone doing what he wanted. And the concept of that piece of machinery that's keeping, you know, time. Well, I guess it's keeping these poor people who are stuck in a facility that's powered off. You know, all of their life support and their existence is powered off of this timeline thing working right. And that is an interesting failsafe in this monster's plan, because in theory, you know, time should, if the natural branching of time happens, it should just be happening. So this guy is doing a very unnatural thing by causing this much order in the universe, and he explained his reason why. And it is really interesting artistically that the greatest agent of chaos in the Marvel universe, Loki, is now the hero of trying to bring order, and this person who's like, oh, we have to do something about this now that he's been faced with true chaos.
Where do you think this season's supposed to lead to? Like Loki was running around saying they're coming, a bunch of variants of him are coming, and it just reminded me of the end of Ant-Man with that room full of Kangs and all those variations and everything. But where do y'all think, what is this season supposed to be about? Is what I'm asking. Like, if this is really just picking up the pieces of the finale right now, where's this going this season? What's you want to have a clue what the synopsis on it is?
No, it's
Yeah,
just Loki deals with the, you know, one who remains, the fact that he exists and will be popping up weirdly until what I assume will be a story where Doctor Doom steals his powers and we go into the Secret Wars. I think we're doing a combination of Jonathan Hickman's Secret Wars plus like the Fox Kids Spider-Man Secret Wars. Like it's going to be that level of writing, but doing the Jonathan Hickman deep story points.
I know a lot of people are theorizing that Loki will be the big hero for Secret Wars. Like he'll be the lead hero. He'll be like the Iron Man type of character, and that to go up against Kang. Because him knowing, throughout this, I feel like he's going to learn a lot more. Like even in this first episode, he learned a little bit of Kang, or He Who Remains, with Renona Renslayer, and that how they worked together a little bit previously and had their minds wiped. And how many times have people's minds wipes been happening? Like they've been there for 400 years. So I feel like he's going to continue to figure out who Hugh Remains is and find weakness and literally kind of tell the next upcoming heroes who Kang is, what the threat is, and how to destroy him or them.
Do y'all see Jonathan Majors continuing the role of Kang? Or I know like this all this stuff for Loki was all done before the current situation with Jonathan Majors and Disney. They've been pretty quiet about everything. I mean, rightfully so. Like, I mean, that's how you should handle it. You shouldn't take sides before you know what's going on and stay quiet and don't fuel the internet kind of thing. But
It almost kind of, I mean, it seems like they're going all in. So,
well, I think this show will be our first real like kind of idea of what potentially what they might do. Like if they end up doing something that feels a little final with Kang in this, like they give themselves options moving forward. I don't know.
Where's it
Yeah,
with him? Like, isn't it becoming more apparent that he is innocent for his crimes, or has it been stated yet? I don't want to say innocent or guilty until all the facts are out there.
Yeah, I don't think it's been stated. You see stuff that pops up here and there depending on who's talking at the time, whether it be his lawyer or what. But it's been pretty quiet in general. There hasn't been much more that's come out about it. I guess it's just waiting in between trials or whatever. Don't know. Don't have a clue. Who would I recast for Kang? I'll be honest with you, I don't care. Probably somebody not controversial, though. I'd probably go with like a Kevin Spacey.
He's not controversial anymore.
he was acquitted.
Bill Cosby's not doing anything.
No, he's available these days. Oh man.
Yeah, I have not kept up with that story. Yes, sir.
You have some very, very exciting news in the realm of Star Trek, and I know you were excited to talk some Star Trek with this fellow over here, but
yeah, man. Paul, are you caught up on Lower Decks?
I did not see this week's episode because I was traveling this week, but so I'll watch it tomorrow when I get home.
We got another good one, O.J. Simpson.
Yeah, for while everyone else is watching Star Wars and then Loki, I am also keeping up on Star Trek, and Lower Decks is just very funny.
Oh yeah.
It's a cartoon version that kind of makes fun of Star Trek, but also has a lot of heart. It definitely leans into what makes you proud to be human. These characters out here in the world, but what's interesting that we're seeing is that we're going to planets we've never visited before in Star Trek because it takes a lot of money to make sets and design alien planets. And it seems like we're going through a little tour of the galaxy in Lower Decks. So that has been really great, and I recommend it. And I will not ruin this week's for Paul, except to say they go hard on the Ferengi.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's wonderful. The one joke that I will spoil is no, I won't. It was too good. But yeah,
what about your little announcement? You did an interview recently, right?
That's right. Last night I got to talk with Thomas Marone, who is the guy who designed the Enterprise F, as seen in the last episode of Picard. So in Picard season 3. You find out that it is a celebration for the Starfleet community. Like all the ships are coming together at Earth to kind of like take pictures together. Like it's a really bad idea. Everyone watches. Like, what are you guys all just parking the ships outside of Earth? And it goes really badly. But before that, you get a hero shot of the Enterprise F. And I got to talk to the guy. So what had happened, this is pretty interesting. In Picard season 1, a fleet of starships show up to save Picard, and it was what was called the copy paste fleet, because they were all the same starship. And Star Trek nerds are like, "Oh, come on, man! You guys couldn't give a little love to any of the other ships." So the producers, they all listened to that, and they reached out to the Star Trek Online people. And I run a Star Trek Online community, and I have for years. So it was really exciting to see all of our ships, some of our favorite models, show up in Lower Decks and in Strange New Worlds now, and soon in Discovery. And most notably, the Enterprise model actually showed up. So I got to talk to this guy about how does it feel to be the coolest, person ever? Basically, you designed an Enterprise. And you can check out that interview on Priority One Armada. It's a YouTube channel that I run for the fleet. Yeah, super cool. Thanks for bringing that up. It was really neat to talk to him about all sorts of stuff. And one more thing, I guess, is there's a bunch of synergy going on between the shows to the comics to this video game that I'm talking about. So Star Trek, the comic, the new run, it started up about a year ago, and about 2 issues in, the video game had the new starship from the comic. And as you guys are all comic readers, you don't ever see
Mhm.
Yeah. Theirs, but I think
what's that?
So
Oh yeah,
I was trying to find it to link it real quick.
oh thanks. Yeah, it should be the last live on Priority
Yeah, I
One.
found it.
It's 2 hours long though. We're trying to cut it up
Told the
into
people in the
smaller
chat that.
Yeah, but it was cool listening to him talk about how they are talking to the comic people and taking things directly out of the comic books and putting in the game, like, just way faster than you've ever seen something like a comic book get love. That's normally something that happens years later, as an Easter egg.
Mhm.
So there's just a really cool synergy going on in Star Trek. And you can learn more if you check out my interview.
Jesus.
There you go. Yeah, and they were. If you're not sure about Lower Decks, if you like Rick and Morty, it's the guy. One of the guys who did Rick and Morty does Lower Decks as well. So it has some of that type of humor in it. But I've said multiple times, I think, on this show that I think Strange New Worlds has been doing some of the most creative writing of anything of any streamer right now.
Yeah, I got the Strange New Worlds comic this week. Did you pick it up?
I have it. I just haven't read it yet.
Yeah, it's a 5-issue run between the show and what it's doing is the Enterprise is in a race.
Mhm.
Some giant head in a jar was like, "Oh, you guys think you're cool? Well, let's see you race these other ships that I've just omnipotently stolen from somewhere else and are forcing them to race you." So it's a classically, TNG concept. So yeah, it's been pretty good so far.
Yeah, I'm just concerned because with the writers and everything, the writers' strike and the actors' strike is once this season of Lower Decks ends, all we really have in the pipeline is the last season of Discovery because there's nothing done after that right now.
Yeah, you're right. There's nothing but disco.
Mhm.
But yeah, we do have a lot of comic books coming out though from the world of Star
Yep.
Trek.
Oh, absolutely.
If you guys want to turn towards what came out this week,
They also
and
seem to release them all on the same day. It seems like
man, you're telling me, right?
like all 5 titles come out on the same week.
Yeah, right. This week, guys, Star Trek, Strange New Worlds, Defiant, and they hit me with the Halloween.
Yeah.
So
That
yeah,
was all the same week drop.
Yeah.
yeah,
So they could spread them out a little bit, but they release them all in the same week.
the fat Star Trek haul this week. But they were all pretty good, except for the Halloween one, which I have not read yet.
Yeah, that's like a 4-issue series, I think.
It is.
Yeah, it's like weekly. It's like 4 issues, I believe.
Man, it's going to take a long time to release that one. One
Oh
a year.
man. All right. Well,
What else you pick up this week?
Yeah, Starlight here. Shadow of Starlight. I picked that up. I have not
Gotta
read
read
that yet.
That is so good.
Yeah, I gotta check it out. I got Black Panther. We had a new character. The story's been pretty good. There was a guy signing at my store.
Jay
It was Gregory Burnham. He's the guy that wrote the Superman story in this anthology, this Halloween anthology. Ghouls Just Want to Have Fun. So he signed my comic. That was pretty cool. And I read this last night. This is one we should definitely talk about, right? Transformers.
We definitely are going to be talking about that. Did you read the next book in your stack?
Marvel's Gods. I got
No.
Power Rangers.
Batman. I know you picked up Batman. I saw this haul during your live
Yes.
earlier this week.
I have not read Batman yet.
It was good.
Yeah, it was probably the best single issue of Batman that's come out in a long, long time. That's actually the one that Paul and myself did this week's DC deep dive on, which comes out tomorrow at 10 a.m. on his channel, Sector 2815. It is amazing. It is amazing. But let's definitely dive in to some Transformers before it gets much later. I see TM smirking over there already. Andy, did you pick up Transformers, or are you the one person on the planet that did it?
God dang right I did. This was the book to have for sure. This is the book to read.
Did you already read it?
Yeah,
I'm
it was
sorry, I missed
like
that. Kyle was trying to buy a banana bed for our wiener dog.
rocket ship of a comic book. Art was on point. They just captured the absolute awesomeness that is the late 80s, 90s Transformers look. And it was absolutely to die for. I am hooked. I am on for this ride.
I think everyone, at least I feel pretty much the exact same way of that. Tim, what did you think of Transformers issue #1 from Daniel Warren Johnson?
Worst thing I've ever read. It was just terrible. No, I absolutely loved it. It was great. I love the art. Could have been a little bit better. I don't agree with Andy on the art being like the best. That kind of took me a little bit out of it, but it did grow on me throughout the issue. But I absolutely love the start of Transformers over at Image. So it was freaking fantastic, especially the ending where it's just like squish and it was in blood.
Yeah, and we can talk about why that is the way it is. So first off, I love Daniel Warren Johnson. I love his art style. I think it's kind of perfect for this. It has that rock and roll gruffness to his art, and he's a Transformers stan from back in the day. He's primarily like a season 1 in that 1980s movie fanboy, and I had the pleasure of actually watching the live stream on Felix Comics Art where they had him on, where he was going through page by page talking about it and everything. But like kind of just in a nutshell, seeing how much of this was familiar to like the comic books. Like I'm more familiar with the comic book stuff for the G1 because I've been reading through that here recently. But seeing how familiar this is, but it's taking unexpected turns along the way, and it was absolutely savage. There was numerous moments that made me like literally say like WTF. There's numerous moments where I put my hands up in excitement, like a clothesline. I've never been so excited about seeing a clothesline before. And then when Optimus gets his hands on his gun and you just turn the page and it's just up and he's just rip roaring, taking them out. It was cool seeing little things inverted, like the Autobots ending with them at like the mine, whatever it's called, the mine. What's it called? It's not, I was about to say minefield, but I think it's just called a mine, right? Like seeing them there where that was like where the Decepticons were set up in the original stuff. But it was wicked. I like the little duality in the beginning that we saw with introduction of the humans and the Transformers at the same time, and seeing that we have this backstory with the humans that they're going to slowly work their way into, because we saw that person laying there dead on the third panel with the right side of their face messed up. And in the very next panel, you see Optimus with the right side of his face messed up. And we know that that Spike and these Autobots are about to bond over like these similarities despite being completely different creatures from across space and time. It's just, I don't know, man, it was a lot. It was a lot to process, a lot of action, a lot of shocking moments. I'm waiting for the GoBots to make a comeback. Yeah, you're gonna be waiting for a while. Aggressively,
Yeah,
relaxing.
when we getting like black label GoBots, you know?
That'd be something.
Man, that guy's use of sound effect in his art, onomatopoeia, is just, it's really cool. And for this title, it just works so well. Just the big, crash, boom, and the colors. Did he do the colors on this, or is that someone else?
No, Mike Spicer. I think it's Mike Spicer.
I don't.
Right? It'll be right there on your
Spicer
cover. Yeah,
is the one doing the colors.
Mike Spicer typically works for him. Did you do this one with him? Yeah,
yeah, that's who's the name on the cover here.
Yeah, Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer go hand in hand. Like he's like always doing his colors for stuff.
His brutal art. What was the dinosaur DC book he did? Jurassic.
He did Jurassic League. He did the covers, the A covers, right. And that was it.
And he wrote it.
Betty and did all the interiors, but Mike Spicer did color it.
Right.
Yeah, like I really like his style, and the kind of over detailed in some places, and like the crookedness of the wood in like the opening scene. Like he's really, really trying to do something, and I'm super excited to see what he has to say in what is he has 6 issues or 5.
Yeah, DWJ is on 6 issues, and then he'll be writing beyond that, but not doing the art beyond that.
I know kind of like YouTube comic communities deride the 6-issue formula, but writing 6 issues is probably really hard. And like being
Writing
able to tell a story, I've never got that criticism. You can really say something powerful or super cool, whatever it is you're trying to achieve in 6 issues of a comic book. I think it's actually a really good length, and I'm looking forward to seeing what he uses his 6 issues on and where this world.
This moved pretty fast too. We saw the awakening of a handful of Autobots and Decepticons. There wasn't too many all at once. Where that's one of the difficult things about reading the original run is you get just like 20 robots dropped on you in like the first 3 issues, and because of the way that the art and the printing of comics were back then, it was very hard to tell who is who most of the time because the coloring is not even consistent through it. But he was very selective with how many he woke up in this. Shocking moment, like Bumblebee gets his face blown off without ever getting to wake up by issue 6 of this. Jetfire gets killed by the end of this first issue, and we ended on Starscream just being a complete savage and going out into the world of men looking for an energy source because they all wake up low on Energon. So right out the gate, humans knows about the robots. They've already killed people. So the response is definitely going to be the next issue. And I'm wondering just how far they're going to take that because I don't want to spoil anything about issue 2 because they did show a lot of pages from issue 2 on that stream. And so I won't get into that, but I know like they're definitely going to be touching on Cybertron in the next issue because they didn't do much of that in this one at all.
I do like how Starscream is leading. Like he even states it. He's like, I'm the leader of the Decepticons now, and that because we don't have Megatron yet. So
yeah, he was offended that someone even would mention Megatron. So I'm excited to see where it'll go.
But I'm definitely going to try to. I was going to say I'm definitely going to try to do this, Starscream as a spam call review.
Yes.
Oh yeah, it's just.
I think people will definitely hang up on me if I start the conversation kind of screaming in a high-pitched voice. We'll see if I can get anything.
So I'm with Pops on this. So the cover of issue 2 that Danny Warren Johnson did is looking at Starscream from the vantage point of a cockpit, like of a human like flying toward the Decepticons and Starscream coming at him. So I'm thinking that the response to the arrival of the Transformers will be sending in the Joes. I think Daniel Warren Johnson 6 issues is going to be tying all that in real fast because we have the Duke series and the Cobra Commander series coming real fast. And on the cover of the Cobra Commander series, apparently the art is behind Cobra Commander. And everyone's speculating that the jet that's on the Duke cover is Starscream. It does look an awful lot like him.
That's really we're getting 2 companion GI Joe books following the good guys and the bad guys. I hadn't heard that. That's great.
Third book too, right? The regular GI Joe proper, which Larry Hama is going to write, but that's not necessarily going to tie into what they're doing, though, right?
Yeah, I don't know if it's going to tie in or not. Joshua Williamson is doing both the Duke and the Cobra Commander book, and like you said, the Larry Hama one. That's actually even continuing its OG numbering. Like issue 1 under Skybound will be issue 301. Like they're not doing a GI Joe number 1; they're doing a GI Joe 301. So I don't know.
Yeah.
That would be confusing if
well, they're doing that in Ninja Turtles right now, right? You have the comic book Ninja Turtle proper story, but then they're also following the Last Ronin story with these new turtles, and we got
Last Ronin 2 also.
Yeah, and we have one that's like featuring the turtles from the new movie, and we have one from the 1984 Turtles, and they're fighting Street Fighter right now. So we can have a bunch of Transformers.
Yeah, I'm for it. I'm definitely for it. But overall, it was an amazing week. I don't even know where to go from here.
When's Skybound doing the GI Joe release?
I think there's one next month and one in December. I think Duke is next month, and then Cobra Commander is in December.
So every month we're gonna have something badass almost twice as much badass in this universe, right?
Yeah, it's going to get to. We'll get one. We get one of each a month come December.
But
We'll
by
have-
December, you'll have 3.
yeah.
Plus Void Rivals, if you want to read
Void
that too.
Rivals makes 4 Energon, and that was something that I thought was interesting. This kind of time-stamped Void Rivals as being in the present day, just in a different place altogether. Because that was one thing I was curious about. You know, we have some things we know about Transformers now is Jetfire in this universe is like there's a couple throw-offs. We were shown Shockwave was in charge on Cybertron, which is kind of true to the original stuff where Megatron and a small band of Decepticons left to chase down Optimus. They all crash on Earth, blah, blah, blah. Shockwave was left behind in charge while Megatron was doing that. So we saw Shockwave in issue 4 of Void Rivals looking like he's in charge of Cybertron. And then we also saw in Void Rivals #1, Jetfire wake up on this asteroid where he had been for eons. So then here you flash forward to Transformers 1. Jetfire is the one who shows up, who finds the missing arc and turns it on, that starts rebuilding these fell Transformers from the crash. So we're still kind of placing this, but if we see Jetfire wake up over there and come here, that kind of puts Void Rivals like in the present, right?
You would think, yeah.
At least the present 2 Transformers, which I believe is like set in the 80s, if I'm not mistaken.
So these stories are not picking up off of any other continuity because it seems like we're getting, a bit of a battle tested, Transformers. This is a completely new story. There's no other.
We're building from ground zero right here. He's doing his take on it, his version of it, starting at the beginning, which, this is where issue 1 of the original Transformers began too, with the crashing of the Ark on Earth and them waking up. They did give you the backstory of how they crashed in the original one versus this one. It's just from the perspective of Spike coming in and finding the crashed Ark that's been there for millions of years. Like since the dinosaurs. So I don't know if they'll go that route with this one, if they'll have been there that long kind of thing. Like that's why you have Dinobots, is like the Ark crashed back in Dino days, and a Shockwave actually came looking for the missing Megatron at some point and was looking on Earth, and the Ark activated 4 Autobots to go out and investigate what it was picking up on its sensor. And back then, when the Ark scanned for what was the species on Earth to like disguise the Autobots as, they found dinosaurs, and they ended up fighting Shockwave, falling into tar and being stuck there till years later when Ratchet digs them out.
That's great.
Yeah, it builds up over time.
I've read a little bit of Transformers, and really what I know about that series, is everyone's like, it gets wonderfully weird.
Yeah, it hasn't gotten there for me yet. I'm only into the 20s out of 80. There's 80 issues in the original volume 1 run, not counting the little couple. They did like the 2 spinoff series, including the G.I. Joe crossover one. But I'm up to like issue 21, and it hasn't gotten very weird. We hadn't even like really left too far from around the proximity of Mount St. Hilary where the Ark crashed to begin with. But it's solid. It's really enjoyable. They dive into a lot. It's another multiverse. Yeah, I can definitely see that. What is going on, League? Hope you're doing good, brother. I thought it was interesting that Starscream tells Jetfire they had been at war for hundreds of years in previous versions. The war is much longer than that. Yeah, the war had been going on for eons and eons, but also in Transformers, like their metric of a year is equal to like 100 or 1,000 of our years. They use a different measurement of time, which that's popped up numerous times in what I'm reading. Like when they say it, there'll be a little writer's note that says that's equivalent to this many Earth years. So that just could be how, just Daniel Warren Johnson not wanting to overcomplicate things too early, too fast. Because this stuff does, Dr. Von Hoot knows more than most of us how deep this lore goes. But we'll all see where it goes.
That's what I was interested in, the concept of multiverse in this franchise. Is there, someone, I'm always really interested in how modern storytellers have chosen to try to tie together these different things, whether it's the DCEU, how Star Trek is trying to explain away their inconsistencies, the crisis is in the DC universe, all of these different routes you can take to try to keep your old stuff relevant, keep what people really love about these things, and make it matter if you had read all of this stuff before. I was wondering if Transformers was trying to do that, and the idea that it is a part of a multiverse I'm happy about that. I would love to read more about this now.
Yeah, we'll find out. At least we have like Void Rivals like feeding us little Easter eggs, because we'll get the next issue of Void Rivals before we get anything else. And that Shockwave reveal was just, I love that. Absolutely.
Yeah,
love it.
and I think they gave him kind of his own. They gave him kind of like free reign to go back and kind of finish the story that he wanted to do back then. So
Hama.
yeah.
So we'll see. And let's see. Joe did mention Justice League versus Godzilla versus Kong is going to be epic. It better be for a 7-issue part series. Yeah, I'm thinking it's going to be super epic. I picked up my crossover covers this week for that. Wait, this way, a little connecting janks, and I've already got the video in the tank ready. I'm ready. I'm so ready. I was born ready for this one. Yeah, it's gonna be dope. It's gonna be really dope. But yeah, we're at 10:30 on the dot here, and got work tomorrow. I don't know if the rest of you do. It is a holiday for the kids, which is super dope. But I got to go to work. So let's go around the horn, let people know what you got going on, where they can find you. Aggressively Relaxing. I did put that in the comment section in the chat. If y'all want to go check out that interview he did with, what did the guy do? He designed the ships for the online game.
Enterprise F.
Yeah, Thomas Moroni designed the ships for Star Trek Online for the last 10 years. And because he has such great models of these ships, the people who are doing the new Star Trek shows live action came to him to be like, hey, can we just use all this stuff? And he said, sure. And that included, what became the Enterprise F, which he got to touch up before they used it, but it's the newest Enterprise and the long histories of these ships. And yeah, I asked him about it and a couple other things. You can check out that interview. Thanks for posting it. But yeah, that's the thing I would definitely want to push right now.
Absolutely. And Adventurous Joe says there are 2 more connecting covers. And in response to that, I would say, don't I know it? There they are right there. It's going to be Batman and Robin issue number 2 and Green Lantern issue number 4 out this coming Tuesday, available at all local retailers. But I would highly suggest ABX Comics and Games right here in Augusta, Georgia. Paul.
Yes.
What do you got going on?
Me? Right now, you can find me in Omaha, Nebraska, but
I've been there.
But I'm kind of like Loki. I'm like living in you guys' past. This whole time thing change was just like I'm time slipping.
Are you back to work tomorrow?
I am. No, I'm flying back tomorrow, but not back to work until Tuesday. So
nice.
But tomorrow morning, it's already ready to go at 10 o'clock on my channel. Mark and I will be talking about Batman, the new Batman issue. Incredible. And then this Wednesday is Guess That Key. We will have, of course, Mark will be on. And then we'll also have, where do I go? Oh, there you go, this way.
You did it.
You did it. We'll have TM, and we will have Brother John Comicx will be on with us as well.
Oh, it's going to get weird then. It's going to get real weird.
Last time, Brother John brought a cocaine-infused blood-sucking vampire.
What?
With AIDS.
With AIDS. Right.
And I'm not joking. That's a real comic from one of the big 2. Go back and check out that episode. It'll change your life. Or pick up the most recent miniseries of Peacemaker. That character appeared in that.
I was that close from buying it.
Dude, it just wrapped up. This was fantastic. Go grab that collection or whatever. It's so good.
That's right. And Gunn says he's hard at work on season 2.
Nice.
TM?
Well, of course, Between the Lines tomorrow, it'll be over in Geek Out with Roscoe's channel, where we'll have K-Pop Junkie joining us, and the theme is non-Batman Tim Burton characters. So if you guys would like to draw from home, feel
That's
free to do so. You can send them to me on Instagram at tm_nerdy. Look forward to seeing them.
That's a good month
And
for
then,
that.
yes, it is. Then, yeah, Paul already said it. I'll be over on his channel this Wednesday for Guess That Key. I already got my key picked out and ready, and you guys will never guess what it is. Other than
Doom
that,
Patrol
guys,
number
go
one.
watch Gen V. Go watch Gen V. Gen V has been fantastic. Four episodes out so far. It is graphic. There's some parts that really take me out of the show, but other than that, I like where they're going with the story. So guys, go watch Gen V. And yeah, that's it for this week. The following week, of course, Between the Lines will be on my channel, and then I'll have Dr. Von Hoop joining me for chatting with the comic community.
Nice.
Dude, tomorrow's Monday. I'm not doing anything. I'm working and that's it. I'm going to upload some shorts on Tuesday, though. I've got a couple more shorts left, and I got into a Star Wars blaster box. And, man, I'll tell you what, I've never seen so many damaged Chrome cards from Topps in my life.
Wow.
So when I start getting this next round of shorts going 2 times a day this week, it's pretty heartbreaking. At one point, I think you can see me actually throw the cards because this blaster box, man, was full of not pleasant surprises. But Comicx News Weekly is Tuesday. I'm really excited. We talked about AI Batman, that AI Batman strip that was done, and how the community slam dunked the guy for doing this. Well, Drew Zucker, the artist of Kanto, the comic book, wants to come on and talk more about AI art versus real art. And I'll see maybe if Roscoe can come back on, because Roscoe was on with us last week, and I had a really good time talking with Roscoe and learning more. But there's still a lot that I could learn from this. And Drew hit me up, and we wanted to go at it for one more round of that for the AI art. And then Wednesday, we'll be there Wednesday with hanging out with everybody.
Fantastic. Definitely looking forward to that. Tomorrow I've got I think I've got a toy video lined up for tomorrow, but Wednesday I've got a really fun video. We had a massive collection coming to ABX, local spot, ABX Comics and Games right here in Augusta, Georgia. Paul purchased a 25-box collection and spent some time with it. I spent a lot of time with it. I got to know it. We became friends, and I even brought her home with me. So I'm going through and showing off all that. And I went to the store during my live stream this past Friday and hung out in there for a little bit and showed some of it off. But if you're in the area, be sure to go by there and check that out. That's coming. Shorts, the final short for the DC Comics Cosmic cards is going up tonight when I get off of here. It's the final one. And tomorrow we're starting we got a new theme for the shorts coming. That'll be revealed tomorrow. And of course, all the live streams are set for this coming week already. The new DC Day, 2 p.m. on Tuesdays. The community hangout is already up. And if you're a channel member, you already know to hit that community tab. You have access to most of this stuff already. That 25 long box collection will be available to channel members starting tomorrow. And also as a reminder to channel members, in celebration of this month with Transformers dropping, I've already picked up another copy, yet another one, of Transformers #1 that will be going into the channel member Legion loot for the end of the month. And I don't know who else saw that Toxic Avenger trailer, but Troma is back. So we grabbed a copy of the Toxic Avenger #1 that'll be going in there. And that's just a warm-up. It's going to be a banger of a box, all on top of the fact that C3 is this month as a final reminder. If you don't know what Comics Curing Cancer is, be sure to follow it on Instagram, or just go find this stream that's already set on my channel. Hit the live tab, hit that stream, give it a thumbs up, turn on the notification, then hit the description. It has the entire layout of the shows and everything, so you can go ahead and bookmark all of those. Don't miss out on a single piece of it. It's going to be a blast. I appreciate everybody coming in and hanging out with us tonight. And until next time, as always, I'm Mark, but we are Legion. And boxes and boxes and boxes and boxes, going through, pulling some keys, just whatever we can find, little stuff along the way, just pulling out some keys. Already came across 3 New Mutants 98, just all kinds of keys.